Make me want to go back to primary school. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that today. How are you? Fine. I'm good, thank you. My name is Hope and I'm doing PhD at Wits University, and today you and I will be talking about worms and pesticides. Do you guys like worms? No. Well, I like them and I'll be telling you why I like them. Does anyone know about pesticides? Do you know what pesticides are? Oh, guys, you don't know what pesticides are. Okay, pesticides are chemicals that are used in agriculture to stop or reduce the growth of pests such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and insects. So you do now know what pesticides are. Yes. Clear. Now, I want you to tell me what comes to your mind when I speak of the word agriculture. What comes to your mind? Quickly. Aloud. Yes? Crops. Crops, good. What else? I'm thinking oxygen. Did anyone think that oxygen is related to agriculture? Anyone? What else? Yes? You raised your hand. I'm thinking of oxygen. Someone said crops. Crops, we get food from crops. Oxygen, we get it from plants. In return, we give them carbon dioxide. What else? The clothes that I'm wearing. Did you know that it comes from plants? The material that is used to make this, some of it comes from plants. The money that we use to buy food, the paper that is used to make money, it's made from plants. Did you know that? Yes. So all these things that I just told you about here, they all come from plants. So now I want you to imagine what will happen if all these plants were to disappear. What do you think will happen? There they are, they're disappearing. What will happen? Yes?
The animals and humans will die.
Yes, they'll die. What else? You want to have oxygen. Yay! What else? I'm going back to where we died. Yes, we're gonna die. I agree with that. But before you die, you're gonna have to go through some suffering. You have to suffer before you die. And what happens in agriculture, the sufferings that we're experiencing in agriculture are due to pests such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and insects. And these problems result in what you see here. You have a leaf that has some browning on it. Instead of it being green, like that, it ends up being brown. Would any one of you eat a brown apple? I for one wouldn't. And following with the fungal infections, instead of getting leaves which look like that, you get the ones which look like that. And that is due to fungal infection. Lastly, with the insect pests, instead of just getting a nice, beautiful, good-looking tree, you have something that looks like that. So what happens is the insect pests just eat away everything and you end up with just a stock, and you're not going to have food production from that. So moving on, all these programs have led to scientists to come up with ways to stop or reduce the growth of these pests. And one of these are what we call chemical pesticides. You still with me? Yes. The chemical pesticides have been applied way, way back before you and I got born. Yes, I'm not that older than you. We're still on the same track you are. So they developed these chemical pesticides to stop the growth of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and insects. So what happened is, because they used them too much, we ended up having people who were working with us getting sick. Would anyone want to be like that after coming back from work? I wouldn't want to look like that. In addition to that, the apples or the tomatoes or the vegetables that were produced, they ended up having some chemicals on them which are not good for us to consume. Which are not good for us to eat. And finally, the soil got affected so much that you could not grow anything on it. So all these problems led to people like me to come up with ways to counteract these problems. And voila, this is one of them. I know this looks like spaghetti, but it's not. These are the worms that I told you about in the beginning, and scientists, because we like being complicated, we call them entomopathogenic nematodes. You can abbreviate them for EPNs. What these are colorless roundworms. We can obtain them from the soil, and we've discovered that these cause insect death within 2 days. So you have worms on the other side, and then you have pesticides on the other side. Worms kill the insect larvae within 2 days. Pesticides can take up to the whole week. So which ones do you like?
Worms.
Thank you. I like worms too. On this picture here, this is the insect larvae. And then you have these tiny worms coming out of it, and this is after 48 hours. Do this look clearer to you? If I were to say these are worms, I did say this look like spaghetti, and you laughed. The reason is that I used the camera, so this is how they look under the microscope. This here might look like the mouth, but it's not. That is actually the anus of the tiny worm. And there you have several of them, and that is just the intestine of the little worm. Going on, you have a few other structures of the worm, and we do this in order to understand them, because we found out that the worm has a bacteria within the intestine, and this bacteria is able to secrete, or rather produce, various chemicals which are able to kill the insect, and then on the other side, the chemicals can be able to kill or stop the growth of other microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, yes, and insects obviously. So what you see here is an insect larvae. This is the one that just eats away whatever it finds on the plant. So, you know, an insect, before it becomes a flying insect, it starts off from it. Did you know that? Okay, I'm glad that today you know. An insect, before it flies, it starts off from being like that, and then it grows and stuff like that. So we do a study with the worms, and then we found out that after infection with those tiny little worms, the insect larvae changes color into black. And this is due to the chemicals which are produced by the bacteria that I told you about. And I've managed to identify 2 of the chemicals, and those are indole and indole 3-acetic acid. And the cool thing about this is plants can also produce these chemicals. Did you all know that?
No.
So from this, then you can see that nature provides us with a lot of sources that we can be able to use in our technology. Do you agree with me? Yes, you do agree with me because I just told you. So from this, then I can conclude that no other field of study can use nature to its benefit like agriculture does. Thank you so much for paying attention, and I hope you enjoyed this.